know that you're not in this alone. I'm Michael Buchbinder, managing partner at Scandinavian Capital Markets, and today we have a couple great guests with us in this to help discuss. I'm Michael Buchbinder, managing partner at Scandinavian Capital. We have Luke Worrillow from The Disciplined Trader and Patrick Victor from No Nonsense Forex, both with really successful YouTube channels. Luke is a full-time trader from the UK, creating educational content for YouTube and runs the Disciplined Trader community. His channel features more than 100 videos covering various topics, everything from technical analysis, backtesting, platform tutorials, configuring a trading workstation, basic fundamental analysis, as well as a weekly day trading session. After several years of practice, Luke is able to call himself profitable and part of the 5% of traders who consistently make money. Luke mostly trades the Forex and indices markets. Patrick started his Forex trading journey in 2009. After several years of discipline and perseverance, he was hired by a professional prop trading firm in 2014. In 2018, he started his YouTube channel, No Nonsense Forex, which has more than 250,000 subscribers, and his videos have almost 16 million views. Patrick emphasizes the importance of money management, psychology, and perseverance in his content, which can be found on his blog and YouTube channel. So we've got two distinguished Forex educators from either side of the Atlantic. I know Luke is out of the UK, and Patrick is over there in Panama currently. Both Luke and Patrick are self-taught traders who put in years of grueling hard work to become consistently profitable traders. And heed the same warning: trading requires discipline and perseverance. There's no get rich quick in this business, unless you get lucky and then, well, hopefully you don't lose it all, giving it back. Patrick, would you like to say a few words about how you got involved in trading? How long did it take you to become profitable, and what are the goals of No Nonsense Forex?
So I started because I hated my job and I needed something else to do. I didn't really see a way out unless I found something else. I was in the hospitality industry for a long time, and it can get a bit comfortable, and a lot of people just never leave, and I didn't want that to be me. So I needed something else to do. And I always loved finance. I just didn't really have a direction. So my first direction was penny stocks, and I failed gloriously at that. And then I said, okay, well, I need to figure out another way to go. And then I just kind of ran into Forex. And once I found that, I decided I was never going to look back. I was just going to pursue this. So the second part of the question, how long did it take to become profitable? Like consistently profitable, enough to where it really mattered? 4 years, probably. And, that seems like a long time to a lot of people, but I was creating a system that was completely outside of the conventional way that most people are taught. So it did take me probably longer for that reason, because nobody else had really done it that way up until I started doing it. So I had nobody to really guide me. So it was a lot of testing and trial and error. So that's probably why it took as long as it did. And then the goals of No Nonsense Forex are really to get people there in a shorter amount of time. I mean, it's still going to take years. But what I learned is until I really had the money management and psychology pieces to the puzzle, it didn't really matter what else I did. I felt like I invented this completely revolutionary technical analysis way of trading, but it still wasn't working until I added those other pieces in. So I'm sure, as we all know, you need those technical analysis videos if you want people to discover you and if you want to rank. But after they have gotten to your channel, you need to also say, hey, look, this is the exciting stuff, but this is the real stuff right here, and you can't have one without the other. So I would say those are my overall goals for the channel.
Nice. And you want to tell us a little bit about your profile picture and I guess that's how people come to know you by?
Yeah, the chess piece. Yeah, the chess piece is pawn takes king. It pretty much says, look, we all know the fail rate in Forex is horrendous. And it's really only, the major institutions out there for the most part that are making lots of money in this game. But even, if we do it right, even the little guy, like us, the retail traders, if you do it right and you take the steps and you go slow, can actually end up taking this market down too over time.
I was going to say it's kind of like the Reddit group, but they didn't go slow. They just went right for the jugular. One hit wonder over there.
And it worked. God bless them.
Let's see if they can do it again, or if that was just a one-time thing. That's quick money though, right? That's not having a strategy or anything.
No.
Luke, I guess the same question for you. How did you get involved in trading? How long until you became profitable, and what are some of the goals of a disciplined trader?
So I actually didn't start trading. I've been doing it now for about 10 years, but I just went to university. I had sort of a passive interest in finance sort of from a young age. I think if you ask any, my sibling or mum and dad, they'll always say I was a bit obsessed with money for, by most kids' standards. But yeah, never really got into finance until after university. I set up a business when I'd finished university. Business has always been a big passion of mine. I've always wanted to be my own boss, essentially. And I had a business out of university that I did for a couple of years. And then after that, I was looking at other things that I could do, and I came across trading. And because I was working for myself at the time, that sort of afforded me the luxury, I guess, of investing my time in not, having to make my income from this thing straight away. I could supplement it from the business that I was running and look at this as a potential avenue for me to spend some time doing. And I just started to grow from there. Probably similar to Patrick, to be honest, in the amount of time that it took me to actually get to a stage where I was comfortable taking money from it. I mean, I think you get to a stage after a year or two where you think you've cracked it, and then I don't know, most people seem to do the same thing, that an overconfidence sort of steps in, or you just become, there's still a few lessons that you've not quite got to grips with, and the market will definitely teach that lesson if you stay involved long enough. And then I guess from there, it's not like overnight, all of a sudden you realize you're profitable or anything. It just, over a period of time, you start making these mistakes less and less. So yeah, I would say it was probably a similar time, 3, 4, 5-year period, I would say, before I was really sort of happily, consistently profitable. And goals for disciplined trader have just always been sort of similar lines to what Patrick said, really, is to help people get to this profitable stage a little bit earlier. One thing that I always really struggled with and see a lot of people struggle with is the unrealistic expectations that people bring to trading because of all the nonsense that's touted around, get rich quick schemes, like you said. This is not a get rich quick scheme. There are many other things that you could invest the time that you spend in this and see a return on that time quicker than trading, I think. But for me, and I'm sure Patrick would agree, it's definitely a worthwhile venture. But like I say, similar to Patrick, it's just to help people navigate maybe the pitfalls that trading has, because there's many of them.
Well, you both mentioned it was a long journey to get to where you are today. Can you maybe describe like the ups and downs and like the aha moment that you got to where you're like, okay, this is working. We kind of figured it out. I'll start with Luke.
For me, I mean, my biggest problem when I was first starting to trade was I was too keen to trade all the time. For a long time, I was only ever interested in day trading, and spending so much time in front of a computer screen staring at the markets, trying to be involved in as many things as you can be, especially when you're used to doing something productive, it's just awful, because you're just searching for trades, and if after a while you've not found anything, it could be a couple of hours, which is a long time to be sat there doing nothing. You end up forcing these trades, and that's what was really destroying my progress, really. It wasn't until I just slowed down and actually looked at what was detrimental to my account over like a 6-month period or a year period, where it was these stupid trades where they didn't really fit what I was trying to do, or You could see that I'd forced it. Maybe I'd just been stopped out or something, and I've jumped straight back in because it's going to look like it's going to carry on going the original way you thought it was going to go. There was loads of these silly mistakes, and I don't think there's anything revolutionary about the aha moment or anything like that. It was just working through these simple fixes to get to a point where you're just, you still make mistakes now and again, but making them less to a point where they stop having a huge impact on your performance, really.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Patrick, what would you say for yourself?
So it's a funny thing with aha moments. I've probably had 1,000 of them, and they none of them actually came true in the end. You always think you have found the secret cheat code to unlock the game, and really when you actually do, I guess come to a point where you're consistently successful, it's not even an aha moment. It's very muted. It's not even this big explosive feeling, because especially if you've failed as many times as most of us have, you always have this creeping dread that it could always come back, and this might not be it. Even if you've been consistently profitable for a long time, you always know it could fall apart at any moment. So you really don't have supreme confidence in anything you do, which is why you really just have to create a system and stick to it, and just, I don't want to say hope, but just understand that it's gotten you this far. It's probably going to take you 3 to 5 more years, and then you reevaluate. It's really as simple as that. So my aha moments, were many, but none of them turned out to be anything. So and it's funny what Luke said too. I'd gone through the same thing, only I would argue worse, because I but I spent the last 15 years in Las Vegas, which is on Pacific Standard Time. So I would get home from my restaurant job at about 11 or 11:30 at night, catch the London Open at about midnight, trade until 6 in the morning, go to bed with anxiety because major USD news had just come out, and I had no idea how it was going to affect my trades. Wake up at 2 in the afternoon, and then get ready to go to work at 4. It was a terrible way to live. I was unhealthy. I was just a mess. And I said, there has to be a better way than this. And so then I started, going off the daily chart, and I realized everything was better that way anyway. So that was a big change. But yeah, there was no one great aha moment. And 11 years down the road, there still isn't. I just keep doing what works. And it just, doesn't work all the time, but long term it does. So that's all you got to go with.
I guess Sorry.
I was just going to add, Patrick made me think of it. I guess the biggest, and I can't call it an aha moment, but it's realizing why you're second guessing certain things when you start trading, because he's right. Like you say, you are almost waiting for this to go wrong again, like it has done, because history's taught you that, okay, this period's gone well, it's going to go wrong at some point. But when you start asking yourself, well, why is it going to go wrong? And what are the reasons that are going to make this trading performance be bad? And if it is just the statistics of the strategy you're using, that's so much easier to rationalize with yourself than this unknown quantity that could come and wreck your trading. And I think once you start to understand that this does just boil down to numbers essentially, and you can have periods, you can't do anything about it, you're going to lose money. It just becomes easier to sit with, and the problems that come from second guessing yourself or getting bored or whatever it may be, they're just easier to control once everything starts to click a bit more with the trader, I guess.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think really those aha moments really come down to not even thinking you just beat the game, but down to knowing what you did wrong and recognizing failure. Because I've been a business owner for a while too. Every time you fail, you just get stronger, because unless you're an idiot, you realize, that's a mistake that I'm never going to make again. Therefore, I just became a lot stronger in the process. And traders have to go through that process a lot, and they don't realize that, so they have to learn the hard way. But once you've really put a good 4 or 5 years in this, you've had so many of those failures it becomes a lot harder to fail down the road. So I would kind of change my answer a little bit. I think that would really be what I consider to be an aha moment.
Yeah, there's nothing to humble you like the markets. Just ask arch egos, right? There's only you can throw as much money as you can at it, and you still can be wrong. So, I think it's part of like the evolutionary process. Like trading is kind of like evolution at its work, where you have to learn danger and you have to learn from your mistakes, and each scar is a lesson. And the more scars you have, the more lessons you have, and the better hunter you'll be, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scars are sexy.
Yeah, there you go. I guess, Patrick, most Forex educators and mentors agree that psychology plays a crucial role in trading performance, yet continue to focus on technical analysis and entry and exit points. How do you cover trading psychology in your materials?
Yeah, you're right. They all agree, but they don't do anything about it. Or they'll put out 1 or 2 videos just putting out some high theory with no actionable content. And they do that because psychology doesn't rank at all. Like, nobody wants to look for videos like that. The only time they ever do is after they've lost a bunch of money. And usually by then it's too late. But I was like, look, guys, you don't have a choice. This is the engine that makes everything go. You can put all the pieces in place, but psychology is what makes it all move. So I put a whole playlist together, and I even wrote a book on the subject. So, I mean, just to illustrate, look, this is the #1 most important thing in Forex trading, and really any kind of trading. So get this part down. And you can't just wave your finger at somebody and say, do this part right. They have to do it themselves. But what you can do is at least identify the problems and the dilemmas that a lot of people face and the wrong choices they make as a result, and tell them, okay, next time this particular situation comes up, this is a better way to approach it. It's really the best you can do, because people are going to do whatever they want. But that has always been my approach, and I always illustrate to people how important it is. So hopefully they won't make these mistakes to begin with. They always do, and they always come back to those videos 3-4 times. They even say it in the comments. But that's, the best you can do is put it out there and say, look, this is the one thing above anything else you need to master.
Yeah, great.
And Luke, you said that you began day trading thinking it suited your personality and lifestyle. Then you transitioned to swing trading. Can you elaborate on the difference between these techniques technically and psychologically?
Yeah, I mean, technically there's not loads of difference. I think that was maybe just some weird thing I'd got in my head that there would be. I don't think I'd ever really considered it when I was day trading, but I mean, to use Patrick's word from earlier, it wasn't very sexy to be trading on slower time frames. The fun looked to be in the short term, stuck at your screen, making lots of trades a day. And I think that's probably what sucked me into that. But then when I realized where my weaknesses were, swing trading was just the obvious answer to a lot of my problems. And as soon as I transitioned over to, like Patrick said, I mainly use the 4-hour, the daily time frame, and the weekly time frame. Maybe sometimes I'll drop down to an hourly time frame, but not very often at all. And it just takes a lot of the stress out of things. You're not stuck to the screens like you were. You're not having to make rash decisions in a small time frame anymore. If you really understand your strategy, which most people don't, then trading on these time frames, it becomes really easy. And the psychology part of it for me, I think, becomes easier because of that time. Because, like I said, there's no pressure in those time frames. But touching on what Patrick said about psychology, he's completely right. I spend quite a lot of time when I try and put some videos together, because the more time I put in, the less waffle the viewer has to listen to it. When if you make a video and it's sort of half-heartedly done, it doesn't come across very well. So I always think it's important to get your point across, but I'd spent quite a lot of time writing a script for a video talking about psychology and the importance of understanding where the flaws were. And I was really happy with the outcome of this video. And it's probably one of the worst performing videos on the channel. And like Patrick says, just nobody's bothered. The people that stumble across it think it's really good. And the feedback you get from the people that actually view it, they'll be really pleased with it and really happy with the content. But it's not appealing enough. And until people have made those mistakes, they don't search it out. So like Patrick said, it's you make these videos and this content to try and help people not make these mistakes, but actually what happens is it's in making these mistakes that they then find the content that would have helped them to begin with. So it is tricky.
Yeah, Luke's right. In terms of likes to dislikes, my psychology videos are the top performers.
Exactly.
That's the only place they perform, and he's right too. You know, the longer time frame you use, the less opportunities there are for you to jump in and mess up your trade. I even take it further and say, not only do I think you should trade the daily chart, I think you should take every single Forex trading app off of your phone. You know, don't give you, what are you looking at? You know, if you're trading the daily chart, you check in once a day. There's no need to check in more often than that, because now you're giving yourself even more opportunities to jump in and do something emotional, which is deviating from your system. And why even bother trading the longer time frames if you're just going to jump in and mess it all up? Sometimes you really have to take it to those extremes, or else, it doesn't matter what you tell people.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that I overlooked a lot when I first started the YouTube channel. Was I still find it staggering today, the amount of people that solely trade from a mobile phone blows my mind, because I just don't know how you do it. I obviously have apps on my phone attached to my accounts for purely monitoring purposes, but there's no way I could do any sort of meaningful analysis or have any confidence in a trade that I'd seen based on what I've seen on my phone. Like Patrick says, if you're only checking the charts once, twice, maybe 3 times a day, to sit down at a proper screen and do things properly, for me, is the way to do it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just want to be big shots and look cool and have those apps on their phone. I think that's what it comes down to for some people, whether they admit it or not.
Yeah, well, I spoke to Drew Neve, the founder and original CEO of FXCM, and he was like, from all the research that we've done about why people trade, they don't trade to make money. They trade to be right. And people want to go and tell that person next to them, like, hey, look, I made this money. I'm right. And it's like that ego thing. And that's why they hold on to losers, because they want to think they're right all the time.
Yeah, it becomes very valuable to that person, doesn't it? That they, like you say, they will hold on to trades for so much longer than they will hold on to winning trades, because the fear's there. The fear that they're going to be wrong means that they hold the losing trades for way longer than they should. And the fear that when they're right and when the trade's going into profit, that they're then going to be wrong if it turns around, means that they end up snatching at potential profits. It kills them on both sides, unfortunately.
Yep. And really, as a man, we want respect and validation more than we want money. Crazy as that sounds. And that's so true. In the precious metals market, I've made a couple calls on my Discord forum, and I honestly hope those calls do better than any trade I'm in, just because it's my reputation and my ego on the line. Like, I don't care about the money I make as much as I do being right about those calls. And I think, everybody's like that. And so when those emotions come into play, and especially if other people know you're in those trades, I mean, you're not going to manage that trade the right way. You're going to do everything wrong just to look like somebody who knows what they're talking about. And that's just an added danger.
For sure.
I guess we got a couple questions coming in. We got DT Wolf, Down to Wolf, or maybe it's Downtown Wolf, whatever it is. Or he says, if you're so good at trading, why are you teaching other people? Don't you make more money trading? But let's rephrase that. What motivates you to make these videos and help traders out? I think that's a better question, feeding off of DT Wolf.
Well, I mean, from my point of view, I don't actually. Disciplined trader doesn't have anything for sale as it stands. So, I mean, I don't charge for anything that I do. This is purely a hobby for me. Trading is obviously a big part of my life. And as we've alluded to already, when you trade the longer term time frames, it's actually not that time consuming. So I have invariably, some time to kill. And this is, I guess, what you would call maybe a side hobby, or
it's a way for you to journal your stuff, it sounds like.
Exactly. And it puts you in touch with other people. Like, Patrick runs No Nonsense Forex. I've come across his channel a number of times. If I wasn't doing this, I wouldn't be sat having a conversation with him. It puts you in places with like-minded people to have these conversations and interact with. So why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, my material is free too. I don't monetize anything on there. And my initial reason for doing it is, well, as any Forex trader knows, especially people who do it pro, the money is very, very inconsistent. And so I was looking to use my channel as a resume of sorts to put myself out there to see if any hedge funds or family offices or firms were interested in bringing me on as a trader, as a consultant, or anything. Because if you just go to any job site and look up Forex trader, there's not a whole lot of opportunity, and those jobs are not very desirable. So I was really looking to secure my future. But on the other side too, I put together something that was kind of the antithesis of what most Forex education was. And I was just hoping anybody out there who was searching for something else had another place to go. I didn't really expect it to be this successful, because who wants to do things the opposite of what everybody else is doing? But there it was. And I wanted to put that out there too. And just as Luke said, I don't know how many Forex traders you run into in your daily life, but I barely run into any. So it's good to actually make those connections and have a community of people that actually think the way you do, so you're not the only oddball in the room.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of reasons why you would do something like that. And unlike most channels out there, I don't have any paid content. I don't have a paywall for anything. But it's funny too, other opportunities come your way. I got a couple offers from a couple companies. I turned them down because I didn't like them, but I had a bunch of other avenues that opened up just by putting yourself out there. It's amazing what happens when you actually just take that leap.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not doing this for money. Like we focus on retail, on like professional, institutional, and stuff like that. This is more of a chance to give back, because we've all been in your shoes, and it's important for you to know, whoever's watching, that you're not in this alone. We've all gone through the same things you're going through. We've experienced things that you're going to experience, and this is a great way to give back and try and help people out through those ups and downs, lows and highs. Because if you're in the low, there's a high coming around the corner if you stick to it. If you're on a high, watch out, because there's always lows that can come around from around the corner and knock you down. So that's important. Got another question from Ralphino. Hi, I am new to trading, and I would like to know which coin is the best to invest in right now for a long-term investment. Well, we got two Forex traders. I think maybe the question is better suited to kind of how do you pick your trades, and maybe giving Ralph some advice on how to get into some trades and how to pick some trades without being, I guess, too exuberant and just going after anything. I'm gonna throw this at Luke. Why not?
Sure. Yeah, crypto is not my bag at all. It's just not something I trade. Maybe that'll change in the future. But as far as picking trades go, for me, the main basis of me picking any trade is strategy, and it's a tried and tested strategy. It's hard to say if you're wanting to invest your money for the long term. That's sort of different from trading, in my opinion. Yes, even though we call it swing trading because it's longer term trading, doesn't really class as investing in my eyes. It's if you're looking for somewhere else to put your money long term, then that's a different question, I guess. But as far as trades go, like I say, it boils down to strategy, and then the problems that we touched on earlier tend to come from the psychology affecting that strategy or your implementation of that strategy. And as we've already mentioned, it is just time. It's just a learning curve. It's building the experience. It's learning those mistakes. But there's nothing. I think a lot of new people to trading think that there's going to be something revolutionary or holy grail like about a strategy that works, and there really isn't. It is just a statistical edge in the markets that you trade, when you pick the right opportunities and execute in the right way, and that's really all it boils down to. If you can build the psychology to implement that strategy correctly, then over the long run, if you can pick the right trades, they will profit for you.
So if he's asking, what cryptocurrency to invest in and buy and hold for years, I would say Chainlink. But it's the wrong question to ask if you're looking to be a trader. First you need to put a system together, then you need to test the heck out of it, and then that's when you actually start trading for real. So, but it's not an uncommon question. I get a lot of people that say, oh, what do you think of the euro? Should I put my money into it? I'm like, that's not a question I can answer. And then they look at me funny. They're like, well, you're a Forex trader. How can you not answer that question? I'm like, because that's not how you do it. It doesn't work that way. If you're really going to do this, do it right. And if you're going to do it right, you need to, A, assemble the parts and do a lot of trial and error, and then B, test it so you know it works. And why wouldn't you do those two things first before jumping in? There's a reason why that fail rate is as high as it is. And it starts with people's approach, and everybody's approach, especially on the onset, is just completely off.
Yeah, it's the initial approach and expectations that people come to. Maybe it's because they get that initial impression and expectations from the wrong places, which is probably the case a lot of the time. And then when they come into contact with someone who does do this properly and are dumbfounded by the answers that they get, because they're not being told, oh, well, just put all your money in whatever, or just do this simple thing and you'll be making money in 5 minutes, that they almost disbelieve it, and that this stigma develops in that, well, you don't know what you're doing then. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, especially like with signals and stuff like that, people are like, oh, I want to buy a signal. And you can tell them, you can be like, oh, here's a signal, but they can always mess up the signal. They can buy too late, or they can sell too early, and they can just mess it up, or they can jump in after it's already moved. And then they're like, oh, well, I got it once. I wanted a confirmation. I want to see it move. And they're like, well, at that point, you gave up all the points, all the pips. So what are you going after? So you can tell anyone anything, but they can always mess it up. Sorry.
That's really funny you say that, because everybody says that all signal services are trash. I actually think there's probably some good ones out there. It's just people wouldn't know how to use them, even if
exactly
the instructions were like written right in front of their face.
And they don't appreciate that is one signal in what will be a batch of signals. That trader that's giving those signals, like Patrick says, if they're a good one, they're not expecting that to always be profitable. This is one in a series of a bunch of trades, and the bunch of trades will be profitable over the long term. But someone might use a signal service for a month. You see these things getting touted on free trials and things or whatever, and are annoyed when they've lost money because they took 5 trades and 4 of them lost. But that happens. And if you're only going to take part in 5 trade bursts, from these different signal service providers, then expect that to happen. If you're not going to be in it for the long run to see the edge play out, then of course you're not going to see the profits.
Yeah, I almost feel bad, because even like the best traders out there have a string of even 3-4 months to where they underperform. And God help a signal service provider if he's putting signals out during that time. He's going to lose half his business.
For sure.
Yeah. I guess we've already kind of touched upon this about the videos and what kind of videos work or not. Luke, you mentioned you've come across Patrick's videos. Well, what videos of Patrick's have you come across, and what would be some of the most popular videos? I know you've already mentioned psychology and stuff like that. Give us an example of some of those videos.
Well, I came across Patrick's videos first. Patrick's probably the same. You can be doing something, it could be trading related, it could be anything related, to be honest, and an idea will pop into your head and you think, this will make a great topic for a YouTube video, or this will make, this is something I should cover on the YouTube channel for people. And indicators is a big thing that I noticed a lot of people were asking me about, and were almost expecting a holy grail answer, which indicator is going to make me the most money, what settings should I have my RSI on, or which moving averages should I be using. So I think at one point I'd sat down to sort of put together maybe a mini series of videos about indicators, and came across Patrick's videos because he's got some fantastic videos on indicators. And in the end, I think I only did 1 or 2 on it. But that was when I first came across it. And I mean, like I said, he's done a brilliant job of explaining the indicators that he's covered. I'm sorry, I've forgotten the second part of your question.
What are some of the most popular videos from what you've posted?
From what I've posted, it tends to be tutorial videos around trading platforms, to be honest. That's done the best for me. So I seem to have a little bit of a knack for explaining how to use pieces of software. That's done pretty well. I can't think actually now off the top of my head, but yeah, they're the two that are driving the channel at the minute. I think one's for TradingView, one's for MT4. So yeah, they do the best for me. But I mean, if you spend any time on YouTube, any sort of sensationalist video titles are the ones that really get the views. I'm sure Patrick would agree. It's not the information that really needs digesting, unfortunately.
No, yeah, when you're starting out and you need to get that traction early on, I had to get pretty markety with my early titles. And my titles didn't always have a lot to do with what the video was actually about, but I kind of made them correlate over time. Because especially early on, you got to get that splash. So many channels start and then just never get traction because they don't know how to give YouTube what YouTube wants. And you have to do that at first. And then once you get people on, then you can start drilling down into more smaller concepts. Yeah, but it doesn't matter if you don't get them through the door first.
That is exactly right. Because if you haven't got the subscriber base to talk to about the real stuff, you're just talking to an empty space. And that's the hardest part, is building up a pool of people that actually want to listen for whatever reasons. Like Patrick said, if you've got to make up some spicy titles to get the people through the door, then that's what you do now and again. But then the people that stick around are the people that get the real good stuff, in my opinion.
So what is YouTube looking for? What are the people on YouTube looking for?
Relevance and viewer experience. So those are two pretty broad things. But if you're going to tell somebody that this is what your video is, then it has to actually be about that. And that kind of goes into viewer experience. If they like it and it is relevant, they are going to stay on that video and stay on your channel, which means YouTube gets to show them more ads. So one hand kind of washes the other from that point. If I was making videos on something and the video wasn't really about that, or I was wasting the viewer's time, then they would click off a lot, and YouTube would see that, and they would punish me in the rankings for that reason.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, those algorithms.
Ever changing as well.
Ever changing.
I guess do you guys have some questions for each other? Maybe let you guys go at it.
Yeah, I mean, I had one for Patrick. I was trying to think about what to ask him, and the thing that a lot of my videos always come down to is that when you really know what you're doing with trading, it boils down to just a few simple things. But getting that across to people, I found, is the hardest task. Succinctly telling people just the bits they need to know in order to help them improve is a real skill. So I just wondered how you'd best tackled that.
Yeah, I did this in my psychology videos, and I have the 3 ironclad rules of trading psychology and really trading in general. And really, you only know about these rules if you've made it to my psychology videos. So it's only for the people who I guess I deem worthy to know them. And I try to make it really memorable too. It's really simple. I say, 1, trade your system. 2, stay the F out of the way. 3, repeat. And when you have something like that, you can kind of spider out from there into, okay, here's how you do 1, here's how you do 2, here's how you do 3.
Yeah.
But if people can just remember those 3 things, I mean, I even have a lot of people that say, yeah, I write that on my wall. I have that on my wallpaper, just because you can tell people that, but it's the hardest thing to do, as simple as it is. And
yeah.
So, and they know if they can just do those 3 things, they are going to perform better than they would otherwise. So that's been my approach. Yeah, you have to have something simple and memorable for people to remember, or else they won't. So that's how I chose to approach it.
Cool.
What do you got for Luke, Patrick?
So what drew you into starting out day trading as opposed to swing trading? There had to be a reason why you chose that horrible time-consuming lifestyle over the luxurious lifestyle we all enjoy now.
Like I say, I think it was just down to the sexiness, the appealness of it. It looks cooler. It's like we were saying earlier, we want to be validated, and it's almost like, well, that looks more difficult, so I'm going to do that one. It was that kind of thing, I think, and a lot of people that I was listening to around that time were day trading too. So I guess you do, if you get yourself caught up in like a little bubble of people that you listen to, then you sort of that's where you're guided by. So that's kind of what did that. And then I think the more I moved away from listening to other people and actually just doing things for myself, testing different ideas for myself, the more it started to just click that actually, you don't need to trade this way, and you're making this more difficult for yourself than it really needs to be. It's not even like the returns that you get from day trading, I don't think, are any better than swing trading because of those extra speed bumps that you put in your own way. So the more that started to resonate with me, the more I just started to move away from it.
Yeah, and you're right. And I would argue it's worse but think of it too, when you were learning Forex trading, probably just like I was, most of the examples you saw, especially when they were teaching you technical analysis, they were on a 5-minute and a 15-minute chart. I didn't see many examples on the daily. Did you? I just thought that this was just the way you did it. These are the charts you should trade with.
Yeah, I honestly, I remember at one point thinking, I don't even really know what the relevance of these charts are. Like, how is a weekly chart supposed to influence the trading decision that I'm going to make in the next 20 minutes? Like, what relevance can that chart have on my decision making? And like you say, once it starts to click, it's really, what relevance is a 5-minute chart showing you? That is just noise at that level, and it's so difficult to try and find an edge in those scenarios compared to the longer, slow moving timeframes.
And I guess we've already kind of touched on this, but Patrick, what are the emotions people feel when in a trade, and are there any videos touching on that?
Yeah, I would say fear and greed are the two, and you can kind of spawn off those two emotions. I would probably add hope to the equation too. I think that's that's the reason why people hang on to trades they shouldn't be hanging on to, because they think price is going to come back their way, and then it doesn't, and they don't want to take a loss because they don't like what that does to their account, because now they got to claw back to even. So I think those are the things that really trip people up. I did a podcast on desperation too. I think this is really important because I said this in my book. Forex is the market of the poor because of the leverage attached. A lot of people who don't have a lot of money around the world, they didn't feel like they could get into stocks. This is before crypto came around, and they were drawn to Forex for a couple reasons. One was the leverage. In some countries, if you put $1 in, you can have 500 in the game because the leverage is so ratcheted up so dangerously like that. And then two, they saw a lot of quick money scammers online making a ton of money from Forex. And a lot of these people are desperate. And if you're desperate, you will never, ever, ever become a good trader because your expectations are never where they should be, and you're way too attached to the money you're trading with. That is a recipe for 100% disaster, complete fail rate if you have desperation as an emotion. You have to get rid of it somehow, and you have to only trade money you don't care about. And that's why I tell a lot of people too, look, you can just really get to where you want to be by doing it mostly on demo. After you've gotten really good at the demo part, go ahead and trade some real money just so you know what that feels like. But after you're done with that, try to go pro. Try to trade somebody else's money. It's a lot better that way. Keep your money, and then if you can have somebody hire you and give you their money to trade on their behalf, I mean, it's still another whole brand of an emotional roller coaster, but at least it's not your money you're attached to, and you don't feel that desperation of having to multiply it X amount in a certain amount of time. That is a killer. I forgot about that. I'm glad I thought of it. But fear and greed mostly. But desperation is the one thing that if any new trader has, I can guarantee what their result's going to be.
Yeah, fear is a really weird one because it works on both sides of it as well. You could be sat looking at a particular market potentially waiting for a trade setup, and the fear kicks in because it starts to move in the direction that you were eyeing up, or that that you're thinking about trading in, and the fear kicks in, and all of a sudden you're fearful that you're going to miss out on this trade. And then as soon as you're in it, the fear starts all over again, and that you're going to get stopped out on this trade. I think a lot of newer traders really struggle with that, and one of the questions that I always ask them is, but why are you fearful? What are you scared of? if you miss out on that trade, what does it matter? If you were doing backtesting on a strategy and that didn't quite trigger you into a trade, you wouldn't have been annoyed in the backtest that it didn't put you into the trade. And why are you scared about getting stopped out? Because again, if you've tested your strategy, you'll know that if this is just one of the trades that lose, then it's just one of the trades that lose. And there's going to be the other trades that come along and offset these losses and leave you with a profit. So if you're, I mean, it's not as easy as that, obviously, in real life, but if that's the thing that you're coming back to every time, is that you've got this proven set of numbers in the background that show why you don't need to be fearful. The fear doesn't need to be there. Then I should think that would help a lot of people. I know when I started to realize that really helped me a lot.
Yeah, and it has to do with, I think it has a lot to do with traders just want to be right. So that's why they're afraid. They're afraid of being wrong.
Yeah.
They want to be right. I feel like if I was making videos, I'd have a few ideas for videos after this conversation. Is kind of like, what kind of message or video would you put out for traders who, telling them, listen, take a break, reset. Like what would that video look like? Take a break, reset, and it's okay to lose. You got to get back in the game. Because a lot of people, they lose and they just like, I'm done. I'm a loser. I can't do this. They just walk away from the game. But that's a lesson you've learned.
Yeah, and also, it's honestly not for everyone. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm not good at everything. Nobody's good at everything. And my partner always says to me that my brain works in a very logical way. And for me, understanding certain things or doing certain things come much easier to me than say other people. And you pay the price for something else. Like creatively, possibly, I wouldn't put myself down as a particularly creative person or imaginative person. So we're not all good at all things. And just because you didn't do great in this particular venture that you took, it doesn't matter. It's just one thing that you've tried. I think with some people, it's the reluctance to say, well, look, this just doesn't suit my personality. Doing something like this, just because some people are in. You might come across some people that are just inherent gamblers. They literally just cannot get away from sort of the gambling mindset of, I just want to be involved. I just want to be involved. Or like you say, I need to be right. So I would say that for some people, maybe it's just worth thinking, well, is this really for me? Because like Patrick said with the desperation, that's a really tough one to put to someone, is that maybe you're just not in the right place to do this at the minute, and going away and doing something else for a bit until the situation is different might be the best answer.
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked this question, Michael, because I have a bit of a contrarian answer here. And it comes down to the way we trade on the channel. You're putting together a system that you back tested 3 years prior, and you forward tested at least 6 to 12 months ahead. And you wouldn't be trading it unless you know that it works long term. So the last thing you ever need to do is, after taking a string of losses, say, I'm going to take a break and stop. Because as soon as you do that, it never fails. That's always when you miss out on a really great trade. So if you're doing it our way, I always say, don't get frustrated and take breaks. Just put your head down and keep going. The market is not going to trade against you for too long. It's going to get good again, and you want to make sure you're there for it. You don't want to only make sure you're there for the losses and you miss out on all the wins, because that's exactly the recipe on how to do that. So it all depends on what you're doing. If you are more discretionary and you're trading price action and your circuits are overloading, then yeah, maybe you should take a break. But if you're trading an actual system, you need to trade that system all the time and never stop, or else you're never going to know how it's going to perform over time if you're not consistent with it.
100% agree. The difficulty that I've run into sometimes is the people that tell you this, that they're trading a system. For all the best will in the world, they want to trade a system, but when you look at the trades that they're taking, they're not, because these emotions are getting in the way, and they're getting, FOMO, fear of missing out, or whatever, and they're jumping into trades that don't actually quite fit that system, and the second guessing comes in, and all the emotions that we talked about. So Patrick's 100% right. If you've got to a point where you can trade a system well and implement it correctly, then 100% you just have to ride out that bad patch. But if you've got other problems, that's when you really need to take a bigger step back and say, well, look, what things do I need to fix first?
I guess we're winding down the last 10 minutes. What message do you have for traders, and what do you consider a successful trader?
I was talking.
Yeah, sorry for it, you started, so go.
I can't remember what video it was I was doing, but I was talking about people's interpretations of good and bad trades. I tell you what it was. I was reviewing a video of another trader that I'd seen who was trading futures, and basically this guy had a couple of weeks trading futures for the first time, way over leveraged, and ultimately his count ended up getting blown up. But he had a good run in the first 7 days or so, and he actually made like 300% on his account in a week. So obviously you can imagine how that ends. But what was really interesting to me was this trader interpreted good trades as winning trades, not good trades as trades that he followed his system rules by and wasn't influenced by anything else, regardless of the result. Because this is the thing, a good trade can still lose and a terrible trade can still make money. The monetary, the profitable or loss outcome of a trade does not deem whether that trade was good or not. And I think that's something that a lot of new traders really struggle to grasp.
Yeah. The one piece of advice I would tell people, especially if they're getting in this for the first time, is this is going to take a very long time for you to get good at and for you to really become profitable at. Kind of like you said at the top of the show, Michael, nobody just jumps in, makes a bunch of money in one trade and has the ability to stop. That's not real. It's like going to Vegas and hitting your first slot machine pull and hitting a jackpot. You know darn well that Vegas has got you at that point, and you are now going to keep going until all that money goes away. So I think if people just understand that this is going to take years to get good at, and then once you get good, you still might not be making consistent money. So don't quit your job, do it on the side. And if you can understand that, at the very least, we have done our best to take desperation out of the equation. And that's a good start. It's going to take you a long time to master those other emotions, but at least if you get the expectations part of the equation right from the start, I like your chances better than just about everybody else.
Yeah.
And I guess is that kind of like wrapped in with what do you consider a successful trader?
For me, I think that's just part of it. I think you certainly can't have one without the other. I don't know any successful trader that's only 2 years into the game. It just doesn't exist. They might have a successful month or two and then show everybody and make it look like they're successful. But that's in terms of people who have really put the time in, you have to do that first. And even that doesn't guarantee anything. I have people in my comment section say I've been trading for 10, 15, 20 years. And it's been a dead end ever since, but I kept going, and then I found your channel, and now I have hope again. I don't know how their stories ended, but I do know that just putting time in does not equal success. But I know that success doesn't come unless you've put the time in, and that time frame is probably at least 2-3 years if you're just extremely talented and you put in a ton of work.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to quantify in trading. I think I say this a lot in the videos that I make, but trading's not like anything else you'll do. Compare it to, say, a sportsman person's career. They could have 10 good years, say, and then 5 really crap years where they don't do anything very good at all, or maybe they're really controversial or whatever. They'll have still had that success period over that 10 years, and that success will never go away. But in trading, you can be as successful for as long as you like, but you can blow a account up in a day. And all that success is gone to an extent because all the work that's gone into that success has disappeared in a day. So it's difficult, I guess. Success is like Patrick says, it comes from the longevity of it. And saying you're successful after 6 months doesn't mean you're a successful trader, really, because you don't have the track record, the requisite track record, I guess, to really know whether you're going to be successful yet. You do need to put in a decent amount of time before you know where you are.
Yeah, and I've seen lots and lots of track records, and from the most successful traders, you can see longevity. But what you kind of see is that they start off making larger returns at the beginning, and then as they attract more investment, the returns get smaller as they're taking less risk. And they might even have a year where they flat and don't make that much money, but they're consistent over time. And I think that's the biggest thing for investors is they want to see consistency. They know they don't want to go for a ride, and keeping everything slow and steady is the key for on the investor side for attracting investment.
Well, I mean, with investors, going back to the psychology side of things, it comes down to that, doesn't it? They don't want to make the trades themselves, so they're using somebody else because, like you said, they don't want to see that ride. And if they did it themselves, they probably would do. So, yeah, 100%.
And investing is way, way easier in that regard, especially if you were starting your firm in the 2010s, because it was just nothing but, really steady success the whole time. So even if you weren't really good at it, you still had something to show future investors. To where trading is wildly inconsistent, and you have to really look at it kind of on a year-over-year basis. And in the trading game, clients don't want to do that. They want to see success up front. And if you can show them that, great. But again, you're not going to sustain that, so you're going to lose those people over time. So you're not really winning. But yeah, God, I would much rather if I was selling my services, I would much rather be in the investment game, because you can keep that grift going on for years, just by being part of a really great market.
Yeah. I guess we're pretty much near the end. Do you guys want to maybe tell a little bit about how people can reach you at Disciplined Trader and No Nonsense Forex, and if there's any questions they might have? Just give it away, Luke.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, my main presence online is the Disciplined Trader YouTube channel. So I think if you type that in, that comes straight up. But I think the actual URL of it is Disciplined Trader UK after the YouTube URL. And if anyone wants to send me an email, my email is luke@disciplinedtrader.co.uk. Happy to talk to anyone.
Sweet.
Yeah, for me, just type in No Nonsense Forex on YouTube. I'll pop up. And then there's nononsenseforex.com, which is the website, which has really everything on it. I would almost recommend you go there instead, because on the homepage, it has the beginner's video. And what that is, that's for people who already know how to trade Forex and how to best navigate my material. I do not teach you how to trade. You're going to have to go learn how to do that first. But once you've done that, if you want to do things our way, that would be the best way to go. I do not want to give my contact email out. Please do not contact me. Learn it all yourself, and you'll be better off.
Yeah. If you want to learn how to trade, go watch Luke's videos on how to use the trading platform. That's a good way to start, right?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. I wish I knew how to do things like that. I'm not good at explaining things like that, but that's what people want. And if you do a really good job of explaining things, then in their minds, they're like, well, this guy must also be able to explain other things to me, like trading and stuff like that. So that's, yeah, I mean, my one piece of advice, and you've probably already done this, is just keep making videos like that, because not only do they rank, but that's a great way to get people in the door. And that is something I wish I could do, but I realize my limitations on things like that for sure.
No, yeah, it's a good way to build up some trust and like you say, a rapport with people early doors, and then once they've found you that way, they'll listen to you ramble in your less structured videos.
Exactly. Yep.
If I could, yeah. I mean, I was listening to one of yours the other day, actually, Patrick. I think probably the most recent one where you were talking about currencies and things, and that was a really interesting video. But I was just thinking, if I try to approach a video like this where I just have a topic in front of me and start talking, I don't know where that would end up. I'd still be there 3 hours later, and I still wouldn't have made my point.
Yeah, and I think I benefit from having people who already like hearing me talk and have done it for a very long time, because I'll often wonder how somebody brand new to my channel would react to a video like that, where I really, let's be honest, I mean, I am just kind of rambling and talking shop. It's not anything that's going to catch anybody's attention unless you're already on board. So, yeah, I think about that stuff too.
Well, Luke, Patrick, it was definitely a pleasure having you on today, getting to learn more about you, what you guys do. I'll definitely be in touch because We have a pretty sweet program, and also we have some allocations available to make to some decent traders. So after learning a lot more about you both today, I definitely want to continue a conversation with you offline. But for any traders out there who think they got the stuff, we got a funded trading program for up to $2 million for traders who can prove their mettle. Check out scandinavianmarkets.com/fundmytrades. I think maybe David's posting a little link to a Telegram channel where we have some daily analysis out there. And again, Luke, Patrick, it's an absolute pleasure, and we'll definitely be in touch, hopefully in the coming weeks or something, and having some follow-up conversations. Thank you, everybody. Keep watching. Let us know if you have any questions. All right, take care.